Imagine you're sitting on a jury, right? And a prosecutor stands up, they dim the lights, and they play this crystal clear video of the defendant committing a violent crime.
I mean, it's flawless.
Exactly, flawless. Like, the body language is totally natural. The ambient room noise matches the environment, the facial expressions, the micro movements. It all just aligns completely with the moment. You can literally see the sweat on the guy's brow.
Right.
It is the proverbial smoking gun. But there's just one huge problem. The event never happened.
Wow.
The entire video was just mathematically generated by an AI program, just from some laptop.
Which, I mean, that introduces a completely unprecedented kind of reasonable doubt into the whole system. And what makes this moment in history so incredibly complex is that the exact opposite scenario is happening at the exact same time. And it's honestly just as destructive.
Right. So flip the script entirely. Imagine you are the one holding genuine, irrefutable digital evidence of, say, massive corporate fraud. You've got authentic bank records, real surveillance footage, verified audio of a CEO ordering some illegal transfer. You present it in court, and the defense lawyer just casually waves a hand at the jury and goes, "We can't trust that. It could be AI."
Just like that.
Yeah. Suddenly, your airtight proof is contaminated with doubt, or maybe it even gets completely thrown out. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore how artificial intelligence is just fundamentally breaking the justice system's ability to verify reality itself.
It really is.
We're pulling from this incredibly timely legal analysis. It's titled Justice in the Age of Artificial Evidence. And it looks at this massive collision between cutting-edge tech and literally civilization's oldest institution.
Yeah, and the justice system is built on a very simple premise, right? The idea that facts can be established.
Right.
We rely on the courts to determine what actually happened in the real world. But when reality itself becomes mathematically synthesizable, the foundation of that entire system just begins to crack. I mean, we're moving from an era where evidence was something you found to an era where evidence is something you can simply prompt into existence.
Prompt into existence. That's a terrifying way to put it. But to understand why this current moment is so critical for you as a listener, I think we have to look backward first.
For sure.
Because legal systems have obviously adapted to new tech before, right? It's not like the courts just threw their hands up and quit when the photograph was invented.
Oh, they definitely didn't quit, but they were deeply, deeply skeptical at first.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. When photography first emerged in the 19th century, judges spent decades just arguing over legal standards. They had to figure out if, camera angles could distort reality or if darkroom tricks could manipulate the truth.
That makes sense.
Right. But eventually, they built a framework for it. And they did the exact same thing with audio wiretaps in the 20th century, and then again with DNA evidence.
Oh, DNA was a huge deal, right?
Massive. It faced huge legal hurdles at first, but now it's the gold standard of forensic science. So even with the explosion of electronic records like emails and cloud data, the judicial system always, found a way to balance technological innovation with reliability.
Which naturally raises the question, why is AI any different? If we figured out wiretaps and we figured out DNA, why is artificial intelligence the ultimate disruptor?
Well, it's because of a really fundamental shift in the nature of the technology itself. See, earlier technologies, like the camera or an audio recorder, they captured reality.
Okay.
They recorded an event that actually occurred in the physical space of the real world. Artificial intelligence manufactures reality.
It manufactures it.
Exactly. It creates an event from absolutely nothing. And historically, evidence law has depended on 4 foundational pillars: relevance, authenticity, reliability, and fairness.
Right, the core rules.
Yeah. Evidence has to help establish facts. It must genuinely represent what it claims to represent. It needs to be trustworthy. And it obviously can't undermine procedural fairness. AI is unique because it attacks all 4 of those pillars at the exact same time.
Okay, I've been trying to visualize this shift, and I keep coming back to this one idea. Previous tech, like a camera, was basically a mirror.
I like that.
Right. Maybe it was a blurry mirror back in the 1800s, or maybe the lighting was bad, but it reflected what was actually there. AI isn't a mirror at all. It's a master painter.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
And it's a painter that can paint a canvas so flawlessly, it actively fools you into thinking you're looking into a mirror.
Let's push that painter analogy even further, actually, because it perfectly explains the mechanism behind the threat. An AI painter doesn't use imagination. it uses mathematics.
Wow, right.
It has studied 1 billion real mirrors. It's processed vast data sets of images and physics, all to calculate exactly how light should bounce off a cheekbone or how a shadow should fall across a room.
So it's just predicting reality.
Exactly. It mathematically constructs a fake reflection, pixel by pixel. And because it manufactures reality so convincingly, we have to completely expand our definition of what, AI evidence actually is.
Because most people hear that phrase and immediately just picture viral political deepfakes on social media.
Right, the stuff you see on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
But legally speaking, the footprint is so much larger than that.
Yeah, the source text gets into this. We are talking about synthetic audio recordings, AI-written communications, automated fraud detection systems.
Predictive policing outputs.
Yes, and machine learning forensic reports. I mean, even an algorithmic system just flagging suspicious financial transactions can end up as evidence in a judicial proceeding.
And there's a critical dividing line here that we really need to establish for everyone. There are 2 distinct ways AI enters litigation.
Okay, what are they?
The first is AI that creates evidence. So that's your fabricated deepfake video or the cloned voice we mentioned. And that raises massive authenticity concerns.
Right. Is this thing real or not?
Exactly. But the second way, which honestly is far less discussed but just as impactful, is AI that analyzes evidence.
Okay, wait. Analyzes.
Yeah, think of a machine learning forensic system that's tasked with examining 100,000 authentic corporate emails to find a hidden pattern of embezzlement. That raises profound reliability concerns.
So wait a second. We were just worried about, a teenager sneaking a digital forgery into a courtroom. We actually have to worry about AI essentially acting as an expert witness, just analyzing real documents and telling a jury what those documents mean.
That is exactly what's happening. Both categories are flooding into litigation right now, and the courts are really struggling to keep pace. The underlying technology is just evolving way faster than the rules of civil procedure can be updated.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, let's zoom in on that first category then. Fabricated evidence. Because this is the stuff that destroys the intuitive trust that you and I place in our own eyes and ears. I mean, for decades, visual evidence was the absolute gold standard.
Without a doubt.
Jurors just inherently trust what they can see.
And historically, that trust made perfect sense, right? Early deepfakes, even from just a few years ago, they often looked artificial.
Yeah, they were kind of glitchy.
Exactly. You could spot the manipulation if you looked closely. You'd see visual distortions around the edges of a face, or weird, inconsistent lighting, or unnaturally fast blinking rates. But modern machine learning architectures, specifically generative adversarial networks, they have essentially eliminated those flaws.
They're just too good now.
They really are. Today's synthetic media can depict complex events, multiple people interacting, dynamic environments, all with astonishing authenticity. AI can fabricate entire fictional events where ordinary observers just simply cannot distinguish reality from the algorithm.
And the audio side of this is arguably even more dangerous just because of how little data it requires, right? I mean, voice cloning used to sound so robotic.
Oh, completely. Like a GPS navigation voice.
Yeah. But now a system only needs, what, a 3-second audio sample?
Yep, 3 seconds.
Just something scraped from an old voicemail or a random social media video. And it uses that to map the acoustic markers of someone's voice. It reconstructs their cadence, their pitch, their breathing patterns. You can generate a synthetic confession or a manipulated business transaction basically effortlessly.
Which leads us to 2 massive parallel dangers.
Okay.
The first is the obvious one. Completely fake evidence successfully infiltrates a trial and results in a wrongful conviction or an unfair settlement.
Right, the nightmare scenario.
But the second danger is a concept legal scholars are calling the liar's dividend. And it is perhaps the most insidious part of this entire technological shift.
The liar's dividend. I love this concept. Well, love is the wrong word, but it's fascinating. Because fake evidence is so incredibly easy to create, authentic evidence becomes incredibly easy to deny.
Exactly.
It is literally the ultimate, the dog ate my homework excuse for criminals. Like, imagine you own a small business, right? And you catch an employee red-handed on security footage, stealing cash from the register.
Simple enough.
You take them to court, and their lawyer just points at the tape and tells the jury, my client wasn't there. The owner generated that video with AI to frame them. AI doesn't just create fake proof. It infects the real proof with doubt.
It creates an unprecedented evidentiary instability. I mean, the justice system relies heavily on a baseline of trust. If a defendant can look at a genuine surveillance video, or a legitimate recording of a threat and plausibly claim it's a synthetic fabrication.
And the jury has no way to tell.
Exactly. If the jury has no intuitive, visual way to know otherwise, administering justice becomes incredibly difficult. The technology simultaneously increases our capability to fabricate crimes, and it weakens our confidence in legitimate proof.
So, if we can no longer trust a video or an audio recording at face value, how does a judge or jury actually authenticate anything anymore? I mean, how do you prove that the security footage of the robbery is actually real?
Well, that is the new battlefield. Historically, authentication was a relatively straightforward procedural formality.
Right.
You had witnesses who could verify records. You had a chain of custody documentation, a literal paper trail showing exactly who handled the evidence.
Yeah, the classic evidence bag with signatures.
Exactly. And you relied on digital metadata like timestamps and file origins to strengthen that reliability.
But those old safeguards are just totally collapsing now. I mean, metadata can be stripped or spoofed in seconds. And a synthetic video doesn't have a paper trail because it was just generated on some guy's local hard drive in his basement.
Right. Because judges are encountering evidence that's impossible to verify using those traditional methods, the courts are being forced to rely entirely on digital forensic experts.
But what are those experts actually looking for? Because if the deepfake is so good that there are no visible distortions, how does an expert know it's fake?
They have to look beneath the surface. They aren't looking at the image anymore. They're analyzing the math behind the image. They look for algorithmic fingerprints.
Algorithmic fingerprints, what does that mean?
So in audio, they look for waveform irregularities. These are microscopic frequencies that a human throat just cannot physically produce, but a computer speaker can.
Oh, wow.
And in video, they look for pixel inconsistencies.
Okay, let's break that down for a second. How exactly does a pixel inconsistency prove a video is fake?
Well, remember your painter analogy from earlier.
Yeah.
AI generates an image in mathematical blocks. It doesn't actually understand light the way a physical camera captures light, right?
Yeah.
It understands pixel probability.
Okay.
So an expert uses specialized software to analyze the light vectors in a video. The software might find that, say, the mathematical angle of the light hitting a subject's cheekbone completely contradicts the angle of the shadow falling across their nose.
Oh, we can't see that.
No, the human eye misses it entirely because the overall image looks photorealistic. But at a mathematical level, the lighting environment is physically impossible.
I mean, that makes total sense in a lab, but think about what that means for a regular trial. Aren't we just basically replacing the jury's common sense with a battle of tech support in the courtroom?
It really feels that way sometimes.
Like, we're taking the decision away from the jury and just handing it to whoever has the more persuasive engineer. And experts disagree all the time. Plus, the technology is evolving so rapidly that a forensic tool considered state-of-the-art today might be completely obsolete in 6 months.
Oh, easily.
So if two experts get on the stand and fundamentally disagree on what, a neural generation signature means, how on earth are 12 regular people in a jury box supposed to know who is telling the truth?
That is the exact dilemma legal institutions are facing right now. You cannot simply replace human judgment with technological expertise because the expertise itself is fallible. And this is why authentication now requires what experts are calling layered verification.
Layered verification. Meaning, you can't just run a video through a deepfake detector and just call it a day.
Yeah, far from it. You need multiple intersecting safeguards. You need cross-validation, independent corroboration.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
So you might have a digital forensic expert testify about the waveform irregularities in an audio recording, right? But you also need traditional old-school detective work to prove the defendant's cell phone actually pinged a tower in the city where the audio was supposedly recorded.
I see.
You layer the digital forensics on top of physical world corroboration. Authentication has transformed from a simple procedural checklist into a highly complex, multidisciplinary investigation.
Right. And, if we logically follow this path where evidence is so complex that humans can't verify it without software, we hit an even deeper, more systemic issue. This is that second category we mentioned earlier, forensic AI.
Yes.
This is when the justice system actually uses artificial intelligence to analyze evidence.
And it is crucial to acknowledge here that machine learning is dramatically strengthening forensic capabilities. Things like automated fraud detection, cybercrime analysis, identifying hidden relationships within massive financial data sets.
Right. Good stuff.
Exactly. And AI can map multidimensional behavioral patterns across 1 million bank statements in an hour. That is a task that would take a team of human forensic accountants literally years. That capability creates enormous value for finding the truth.
But the risks attached to that are severe, especially when we look at the mechanics of algorithmic bias.
It's a classic data in, data out problem. Artificial intelligence models train on historical data. So if you train a predictive policing model on 50 years of arrest records, and those historical records happen to skew heavily towards certain neighborhoods due to, past human decisions or biases,
The AI doesn't know that.
it has no idea. It just identifies a statistical pattern.
It learns from the flawed data and predicts that those exact same neighborhoods need more policing. It creates a completely self-reinforcing feedback loop.
And this leads us to the mechanical core of the problem, the black box.
Right, the black box.
Many advanced machine learning systems, particularly deep neural networks, operate as black boxes. Think of a neural network not as a simple list of if-then rules programmed by a human, but as millions of interconnected nodes weighing probabilities.
Just a massive web of math.
Exactly. You feed it a massive amount of data. The data filters through thousands of hidden mathematical layers, and an output emerges, a prediction, a risk score, a flag for fraud.
The pathway it took to get there is completely obscured.
Exactly. Even the software engineers who built the algorithm cannot trace the specific logic the machine used to arrive at that single conclusion. It is mathematically opaque.
Which, and this is my favorite part of the research, this creates a terrifying constitutional loophole.
Yes, it does.
Because procedural fairness in the justice system depends entirely on your ability to challenge the evidence against you. I mean, imagine you apply for a business loan and get denied. Or worse, you're pulled over and detained because a predictive algorithm flagged your vehicle as high risk.
It happens.
Who do you argue with? The police officer doesn't know why you were flagged. The software just told him to do it.
It fundamentally challenges the confrontation clause of the Constitution.
This blew my mind.
Yeah, the Constitution guarantees your right to confront your accuser in court. But if your accuser is a black box predictive algorithm, how do you cross-examine a weight matrix?
You can't. You can't put a line of code on the witness stand and ask it to explain its reasoning.
No.
Do you interrogate the developer? Do you subpoena the private tech company that licenses the software?
And the legal framework just wasn't built to cross-examine a mathematical probability?
No, not at all.
Traditional procedural assumptions are facing immense pressure right now. Due process requires fair proceedings and reliable evidence. Black box algorithms totally threaten that transparency, and alongside that, you have massive privacy implications.
Oh, sure.
AI dramatically expands surveillance capabilities through behavioral analytics and automated identification systems that track movements across both digital and physical spaces.
Yeah, your phone, cameras on the street.
Everything. There are undeniable public safety applications, sure, but the friction with civil liberties is severe. Courts have always had to balance security interests against privacy protections, but AI scales up both sides of that equation exponentially.
Especially in criminal proceedings, where, we aren't just talking about a fine, we're talking about human freedom. A wrongful conviction based on an algorithmic error or a synthetic piece of evidence that somehow slips through the cracks, that is a profound institutional failure.
And that is the focal point where all of these forces collide. Machine learning improves investigations and finds hidden patterns for the prosecution. But simultaneously, the defense's ability to claim the liar's dividend expands, and the risk of fabricated evidence entering the record increases.
It's a total paradox.
It is. Prosecutors now face significantly higher authentication burdens just to get real evidence admitted, and judges are forced to assume expanded, highly technical gatekeeping responsibilities just to decide what a jury is legally even allowed to look at.
We've covered a lot of ground today. And frankly, some terrifying realities, from flawless visual deepfakes and liar's dividend to black box algorithms eroding the confrontation clause. Where does this leave the future of justice? Can a legal system actually survive when the concept of reality itself is this malleable?
The conclusion we can draw from the analysis is one of cautious synthesis. Artificial intelligence undeniably changes evidence, it changes litigation, and it changes judicial procedure. But the deeper issue extends beyond the technology itself.
What do you mean?
It concerns truth. Courts exist to determine facts. The administration of justice depends entirely upon the public's confidence that the evidence presented in a courtroom actually reflects the reality of the outside world.
And AI fundamentally complicates that confidence.
It complicates it profoundly. But we must remember the historical context. Legal systems adapt.
True.
They adapted to the manipulated perspectives of early photography, the complexities of DNA sequencing, the vastness of digital communications. Courts evolved their rules. Artificial intelligence presents what is arguably the greatest evidentiary challenge modern legal institutions have ever encountered. But it is still just another chapter in law's long history of adaptation.
Right. The tools change, but the goal is the same.
Exactly. The technology used to commit crimes and solve crimes will constantly change, but the core principles must remain constant. Fairness, transparency, reliability. The challenge for the next decade involves ensuring judicial institutions preserve those principles, demanding layered verification and explainable algorithms, even in a world where reality becomes incredibly difficult to verify.
We are truly entering an era where seeing is no longer believing and hearing is no longer trusting. The justice system is having to basically rebuild its definition of truth from the ground up, relying on deep analytical scrutiny to separate the physical mirror from the algorithmic master painter.
It will require intense vigilance from judges, juries, and the forensic community. Technology alone cannot guarantee reliability. Human institutions must adapt, and procedural safeguards remain absolutely essential.
Well said.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over on your own. We talked about AI being used as a weapon to perfectly manufacture fake evidence. And we talked about AI being used as a forensic shield to analyze and detect those forgeries. If we're heading toward a future where one incredibly advanced neural network is used to seamlessly generate a digital crime scene, and the court uses another incredibly advanced neural network to detect the forgery, does the courtroom eventually become a closed loop?
Oh.
Right. Does justice just become a mathematical simulation where human judges and juries are entirely obsolete, just sitting silently in the gallery while two machines argue over what reality is?
Subscribe to Ambat Legal Insight and stay legally informed with clear, practical, and reliable breakdowns of the law. Follow our channel and activate the bell icon so you never miss important legal updates, case analyses, and expert insights that matter to every citizen. Support our mission of spreading legal awareness by liking, sharing, and commenting, because your one action can help thousands become more legally empowered. Join the ALI community today across YouTube, podcast, and social platforms and take a step toward understanding your rights, your laws, and your justice. Ambat Legal Insight, because law is for everyone.